Alright. Hello, my name is Robbie. On here, I'm Templar Knight. Every person who believes in God but does not go to church has a story why. But it's said that whenever two or more people gather in His name, that He is there. So this is church. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about book covers. The cover of a book is there essentially to tell you what's inside. Now, I know everyone knows this common phrase. Whenever you hear the word book cover, you think of that phrase, "Don't judge a book by its cover." That is the stupidest thing I have ever heard. I mean, honestly, the whole purpose of a book cover is to give you something to judge that book by. That's why it's there. It is there to tell you what is inside. When you look at a book, you know the title, which should tell you what it's about. You know who wrote the book, which, if you recognize the name, that's going to help you find it. And there's normally some sort of picture to kind of say, this is what's going on. I have a book on my bedstand right now. It's called Tough Voyaging. No one's heard of it. It's by George R.R. Martin. That might tell you something. There's a picture on the cover of a space helmet. Also tells you something. What does this cover tell us? Okay, George R.R. Martin. He's the dude who did Game of Thrones. He's a really good writer. I like his stuff. Space helmet. He wrote a story about space. So if you like Game of Thrones and you like space stuff, the guy who wrote that did this. Might be something worth looking into. Fair to say, judge the book by its cover. If you go to a store and you find a book and there's a cowboy riding down the street on it, riding the dusty roads through some old western town, what do you think that book is about? It's probably a western novel. Just saying. If you're into western novels, that might be a book for you. Or you're looking at the spinner rack beside the checkout line. I don't know if they have them anymore, but back in the day, that was where I used to see books. And there would always be that, one book that has some obscure name, Flowers by Nightfall. And there's some dude standing on a cliff without his shirt on, and he's all, and wearing a shirt that's all ripped open, and there's some lady who barely has a dress on, and she's all, You know what that book is about. It's some romance novel, obviously. Stop laughing. But clearly that is some sort of romance novel. Not something a guy like me is going to be interested in. But I can judge that book by its cover and have a pretty good idea of what's inside. Most books are that way. That's what the cover is for. Whoever said don't judge a book by its cover? Bless it, I know why, but we have book covers to let us know what's inside. That's what they're there for. I've said that entirely too many times tonight. Sorry. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube and notice the change in scenery, it's because we had technical difficulties tonight. But we figured out a way to make it work, and the show must go on. So it's going on. This does mean you get to see me in a slightly more flustered mental frame of mind than I normally am. So, back to the story. Book covers. If we were to take books and not put what is inside them on the covers, people might get a little confused. If I was interested in books, and I went and bought a book that had a picture of a bunch of really fast cars on it and said 101 ways to make your vehicle go faster, and I open up the book and there's a bunch of tips about fishing inside, I'm not going to be really excited about that book. There should be 101 ways to make a vehicle go faster written inside this book, because that's what the cover told me. I'm judging that book by its cover. Now, the reason I think they say don't judge a book by its cover is because I don't think they're actually talking about books. What if they're talking about people? Now, as a person, I am very aware of what my book cover says about me. I try very hard to make sure that my book cover, the face that I'm putting out, my persona, the way I am around people, tells them about what is inside of me. I hope that people judge me based off of the cover that I'm behind, because I do my best to be that person. I want to show up in people's chat rooms and be fun and energetic and use slightly broken English because I find it entertaining. Now, when you meet me, you find out I actually am capable of speaking quite eloquent. I really wish I hadn't done that right there. When I get going, sometimes I can speak very eloquently. I can use words pretty well, although my favorite joke is words are hard. So, I'm capable of speaking well. I can string sentences together. I'm good at carrying on a conversation. I enjoy talking with people. I enjoy talking to people. That's part of why I'm here. But when I'm in other people's streams, I want to be interested. I want to let them know that I care about what they're doing, that I care about them. I want to ask them questions. I want them to know that I'm interested, because that's the type of person I want to be. The ladies I work with, they like to pick on me because they know how I talk normally. Construction Robbie has a way he talks. But I have what they call customer voice. And I use customer voice whenever I have to call someone, because in HVAC I have to go to people's houses quite a bit. But I need to call them and make sure it's okay. So you guys probably won't notice a change, because customer voice is pretty similar to streamer voice. But I'll call someone up like, "Hi, this is Robbie with insert name of company here. I heard you're having problems with your furnace. I was wondering if I could come over and take a look at that for you. Is now a good time?" That's customer voice Robbie. Because normal Robbie, if he were to call one of his buddies or a coworker or something and talk to him in construction worker, I'd be like, "Yeah, hey, I heard your furnace broke down, man. What's up? Need me to get over there and fix that?" Not exactly the best way to present myself to a customer. So you gotta be, I'm always cautious of how I'm portraying myself. I look at people's streams, and within the first 30 seconds, I am taking note of their setup, of what's in the background, whether they're using green screens or they're streaming from their bedroom. And I always get a kick out of people who don't clean the room they're streaming from, when I can look and see their bed, and their bed is a mess, and there's laundry all over the place. To me, the people who really take their streams seriously have a set where they're doing their streams from. They've got, okay, I do music. I'm going to have a keyboard over here. You're never going to see me play the keyboard, but it's going to be there, because that is part of my cover that tells you what I'm about. I'm going to have specific posters and signs in the background. I'm going to have pop vinyls. I'm going to have stuff set up to where when you see my picture, you are judging it based on the cover I'm presenting to you. I obviously can't do that right now because, well, my green screen broke. And if I were to take down the screen, you'd get to see my kitchen. I am coming to you live from where my dining room should be, because long ago we took out the dining room table and we built a computer desks, and the wife and I would be here playing video games side by side because we didn't need dining room tables, just us. Well, then my computer setup grew and she decided to move into the living room and play on the TV. So now I have this massive computer station. But right behind this screen is my fridge. It's my kitchen, my microwave. I can't show you that. That is not the cover that I want you to see. I don't want someone new to tune in and see that, to say, is this dude really streaming from the kitchen? Okay. Honestly, bothers me looking at this right now because I'm streaming and I see this dark green background that is supposed to have a nice gray rock wall on it. This isn't exactly the image I was hoping to portray tonight. Not on this stream, but technical difficulties happen and the show must go on. So what type of person are you portraying? What does your cover say about you? I remember back in high school, the t-shirts I wore mattered. The jeans I was wearing mattered. The shoes I wore mattered. Because people would see that, and that would tell them about who I was. And I would hope they would see it and be interested. I wanted to be a book that they would like to read. But the cover is meant to get attention, so that they can find out what's inside. And inside me, there's a pretty awesome guy. And I'm willing to bet that every single one of you probably feels the same way. Because I know most of you. And inside of you is a pretty awesome person. I take great pride in getting to know you all. To see what it says on the cover. But then to go through and read the chapters and meet you and find out about your life. Not many people do. That's kind of a weird hobby that I have. I like to know the people I'm around. Because I bet you all have some really amazing stories. There was a time in my life when I didn't want people to read my book. I switched my cover to where there were no words. Just black. Because I didn't want people finding out what was inside. It was a dark time in my life, and that was what I presented to people. That I was dark. That I was not interesting. Just leave me alone. But I learned to get through it. And as my life grew, I started changing the way I wanted people to see me. You know, if we go to the Bible with this, I'm going to read a verse. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 20. I'm going to read this word for word, and then I'm going to break down all the Jesus words. So it says from the Bible, "We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God." Now, I love that because I know what it means. But I'm going to break this down a little bit just because that's a lot of big words. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors. Okay, well, ambassador is someone who goes out and meets, who, you know, we think of like foreign ambassadors. They represent, they speak for their nation. They will go and say, this is what we stand for. This is what we believe. This is what we do. A lot of foreign dignitaries have that. They will come and they will speak on behalf of their nation. Well, we as Christians are Christ's ambassadors. It is our duty to represent his interests, to speak on behalf of God's nation. It says, as though God were making his appeal through us. We are to go out and spread God's love because he can't really. God himself can't show up on earth as a physical entity. Earth could not contain him. He can't speak to us. His voice is so powerful, it would end us. We cannot see him. Not even the cherubims who are closest to him are allowed to see God. He is too much for anyone to contain, to comprehend, to bear witness to. So we have to go and speak on his behalf. Now, as a Christian, that's power. And then it ends out the verse saying that we implore you on Christ's behalf to be reconciled to God. Now, reconciled, that means we are to be on one understanding with him, to know what he has asked of us, to know what he asks us to do, and to go forth and represent that. That verse is what I'm doing here every night. That verse is what I'm doing here every Sunday night during these Bible studies. I'm doing my best to represent what my God stands for and what he means and his love for you and what he wants, so that I can be his ambassador, so that I can speak to anyone who shows up and say, hey, Jesus loves you. To me, that is the most important message I can ever convey, and I hope that I never stop saying it. I hope that every time someone shows up, whether it be their first time here or their 50th time, I hope every week you get to hear that Jesus loves you no matter what. That is me being Christ's ambassador, being a representative of what he stands for. I want people to look at my book and say, that guy knows how much Jesus loves him. And that guy knows how much Jesus loves me. And he wants me to know. Because I want you to know how much Jesus loves you. If I have to come here every week and say the same thing, I will. Because there's nothing more important to me than that. So I'm going to go to my final section on the judging a book by its cover. Because despite how much I disagree with it, that books are meant to be judged by their cover, the most important book I know stands in contrast to that. Because if anyone has ever seen a Bible, it's simple. It is a plain-looking book. Because the only thing that it needs is to say, Holy Bible. And everyone knows what's in it. If you're ever interested in a good read, there's a lot of books in there I would love to recommend. Because the Bible, it's more of a conglomeration of books. It's a bunch of stories, a bunch of books put together in one collaboration to tell you the story from beginning to the end. I mean, literally, it starts at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Sorry, I shouldn't be making dumb jokes like that. Whenever I say start at the beginning, I always follow that up. And then it literally goes till the end, which we haven't even gotten there yet. It's a cool book. So this is my challenge for everyone out there. I want you to think about your book cover. The persona that you were putting out there for people to see. What does your book cover say about you? Does your book cover say, hey, I'm kind of tough, I'm rough and tumble, maybe you don't want to mess with me? Does your book cover say, I'm really happy and cheery, I want to make jokes and have a good time? Does your book cover say, man, I'm hurting, I just want someone to take the time to read me. I want someone to show interest and look into my life. Does your book cover say, hey, I know about this guy, his name was Jesus, and he loves you? Want to know more? The answers are inside.